Good evening to all of you faithful viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. by 6 o'clock. It's time for the news. Thank you so much for being with us. Our magistrates right away the candidates to replace the deceased chairman of the Social Democratic Front, the SDF, have been known already. Those candidates were made public during the SDF meeting in Yaoundé. Who are those vying for the top position at the head of the SDF? We will be unveiling their profiles in this edition of the news. And over 400 persons die in a bomb blast in a hospital at the Gaza Strip. The victims included babies who could be seen in pool of blood beside their parents. Viewers, those are our major stories. We bring to you the details in just a moment. Welcome back, viewers. To begin this news edition in health, today Cameroon joins other countries to commemorate the International Day for Menopause. Hormonal changes associated with menopause can affect the physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being of a woman. As Cameroon joins the international community today to observe the World Menopause Day, women have been encouraged to avoid birth control pills and other toxic items which can lead to premature or early menopause. Our reporter Lucy Liengu Esie spoke with a general practitioner, Dr. Glory Befeke Anye, and put together this report on how to handle the period of menopause.
Menopause is a time in a woman's life when her ovaries stop releasing eggs and her body produces less of the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. A general practitioner, Dr. Glory Befeke Anye, says it often occurs between the ages of 45 and 55 years.
The one who experience some changes in the menstrual cycle, either there is a decline in the flow, the frequency of the flow, maybe the texture of the menstruation, the color.
But in some cases, early menopause can occur from the age of 30.
Some women as early as 30 years, they may start experiencing already some signs of menopause.
The premature menopause can be caused by several factors.
It can also be inherited from the family. There are some lineages that they quickly get into menopause. Hormonal therapies like the birth control pills and maybe alcohol consumption as well, smoking, cigarette smoking, those are things that will get into the system and they want to play with the hormonal system.
There are signs and symptoms if a woman has reached the menopause stage.
They will like feeling cold, heat, then you see they start sweating, anxiety, anger, mood change, mental health disorders. You may have dryness of the vagina may equally set in.
The condition can only be relieved following the signs and symptoms.
You eat well, vegetables, fruits, you avoid all these toxins, you make sure you exercise, you lose weight.
Medics call on women to pay attention to cardiovascular diseases, which is the highest cause of mortality for women worldwide. This year's theme for World Menopause Day is cardiovascular disease.
And the International Day for the Girl Child was also observed recently. Young girls below the age of 15 are victims of forced marriages, especially in the east region of the country, a situation that has greatly affected their education and equally making them vulnerable to abuses of all types. To address the issue, civil society actors have organized training sessions to help equip young girls with skills that can enable them generate income. Immaculate Fogo is added on that beat.
Despite all the dangers associated with forced marriages, the phenomenon continues gaining grounds in the East region, especially among refugees from neighboring Central African Republic. In most communities, they still believe the girl child should not go to school, but rather be groomed for marriage from the age of 12. Aware of all these, the Women International League for Peace and Freedom and the Women Association for the Promotion of Leadership organized educative talks to sensitize young girls on the importance of learning skills that can help them generate income. We want to make them understand that even if they didn't go to school, they can learn a trade that can help them. The young girls were equally taught on how to use an Android phone and equally get themselves abreast with what is happening around the world. Now we are able to manipulate an Android phone. We are equally informed about the benefits and dangers of social media. We can now use our phones to carry out research and equally communicate with people. It was a great talk. Child and forced marriage is a human rights violation and a harmful practice that disproportionately affects women and girls as they are prevented from living their lives. Their education is disrupted, making them vulnerable to violence, discrimination, and abuse.
And now we talk politics. The chairperson of the upcoming SCF 10th Ordinary Convention Organizing Committee, John Donatus, said the fight over the party's top position has not gone dirty. Speaking to the press in Yaoundé recently, he and the Secretary General Barrister Adeline Lawton Jomgang also said there are no financial complaints or constraints related to the upcoming event, as Babila Jonathan tells us in the report which comes up next.
Today marks the beginning of campaigns.
Campaigns ahead of the Social Democratic Front STF 10th Ordinary Convention are hitting the airwaves as candidates for various positions of responsibility in the party. Highest position in the party, the Convention Organizing Committee Chairperson John Donatus and the Secretary General Barrister Adeline Jomgang dismiss allegations of a dirty fight and complaints over the 7 million francs requested from the candidate.
The fight for the chairmanship of the SDF has not gone dirty. We have not yet had any petition from a member of the party complaining about the amount that they are supposed to pay as candidates for chairmanship or any position.
Barely 4 months after the death of the founder and long-time national chairman of the SDF, John Frundi, the preservation of his legacy takes central stage in the event.
Whatever we do, we will do it in order to maintain the legacy of this great man and to ensure that at the end of it all, we will come out from the multi-purpose sports complex center in Yaoundé strong.
One of the legacies of the late national chairman is the struggle for a federal Cameroon. Mayor John Donato says this fight has to be sustained. Over 2,000 national and international delegations are expected at the elective convention of the SDF scheduled for October 27 and 29, 2023 in Yaoundé.
And still talking about the SCF, the candidates who are supposed to replace the deceased chairman, John Frundi of the Social Democratic Front, have been made public. Campaigns have opened within the SCF for those invested for elections into the National Executive Committee, the NEC, at the upcoming 10th Ordinary Convention. Focus is on the primary position, which is the national chairman. And we know that Gordon Zamam Dengue from the Southwest region and Shewa David Jester from the Northwest region are up against heavyweight Honorable Joshua Usi, currently serving as interim national president or chairman of the Social Democratic Front. Innocent Azen, the report which comes up next, profiles the 3 candidates of this prestigious position of the SCF, the Social Democratic Front party.
28-year-old Gordon Zama, throughout his childhood, was a sympathizer of the SDF party. He later joined the SDF and has been a militant for over 15 years. He rose from the party ranks from wards to districts and eventually became Limbe 1 electoral district chairman, a post he has occupied for the past 9 years. Zama is also a multi-dimensional businessman, real estate venturer, The graduate from the Department of Management from the University of Boya was arrested and jailed for 9 months at the maximum security prison in Kondengi, Yaoundé, for protecting the interests of the common man in the wake of the Anglophone crisis. The grassroots politician from Alpha Club in Limbe 1 subdivision is also a philanthropist, cross-cultural development expert who vowed to defend the interests of the SDF party and meet up with the aspirations of the people. On the other hand, Showa David is an entrepreneur and political scientist. Being an SDF militant for decades, he worked closely with a hero of the SDF party, known to be his godfather, late Honorable Sipan Awudumbaya, in the Donga Mantung division of the Northwest region, where he is the SDF divisional coordinator. Both Gordon Zama and Showa David are each optimistic to beat heavyweight Joshua Osi, first national vice president of the SDF, currently serving as interim national chairman. Honorable Joshua Osi, also member of parliament for Wuri Center, was voted SDF flag bearer for the 2018 presidential election, in which he participated as candidate and emerged fourth. Even though it won't be easy to pull down the man with a heavy career background and favorite to many party militants and delegates, Gordon Zama and Showa David are not intimidated as they stand solid on the foundation of faith.
And now we take you to this human interest story in Yaoundé. After 4 youths almost lost their lives last Friday at the Mombo neighborhood in the nation's political capital Yaoundé while digging a foundation for a fence to be constructed, Equinoxe television visited the scene and noted that people still live around where the incident happened. Smart Jikan Gabriel tells us more.
Of journey getting to the site where 4 youths almost lost their life last Friday. Several days after, at the incident site, the danger was very visible for any visitor. He wanted to construct a fence to support his house. As they were digging, ground covered them right up to the level of their neck. It was only their heads that were left outside. Since I was the first to arrive at the scene, I did the little I could by digging with my hands in order to see how I can save them before the population also arrived. Diggers and spades and others that we could use, we brought them here. That is how from 11 a.m. right up to 2:30 p.m. we managed to remove them. At the neighbor's residence close to the incident site, we met nobody at home, but sources said the owner of the room was still around, alongside the owner of this other building, whom we didn't meet. But it said he is still at the zone, even if the danger is not totally gone. The fence had fallen, so she wanted to construct another, so she called on these youths to dig. We were afraid because at any time it could collapse. Apart from the site where the incident occurred, many houses at Tuisong neighborhood are at risk. Between the Emombo neighborhood and Isumba, most of the houses have been constructed on valleys.
We stay with you, Smart. You tell us in this other report that Cameroonians who worked at the General Works Company in Equatorial Guinea have continued to demand that their benefits should be paid several years after they were laid off. In a meeting that took place in Yaoundé recently, their mediator, Ngo Bahiha, assured the over 300 ex-workers that soon their benefits will be paid.
Been more than 10 years already that Cameroonians who were employed by General Works Company based in Equatorial Guinea have not been paid their benefits. We are about collecting documents of those who died to look for the family members, particularly those who worked in Equatorial Guinea. We have created a commission at the level of the embassy in Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea, that was missing at the start of this crisis, has now been brought into the affair. We were lucky to have an emissary from Equatorial Guinea in the commission. The file is advancing, and Equatorial Guinea has accepted the demands made by these former workers. If Equatorial Guinea accepts the grievances of the ex-workers, it is not the case for Cameroon, even though the government knows about the situation. The President of the Republic reacted through the intermediary of the Secretary General at the presidency, and in 2019 he gave instructions for a dialogue to be held with Equatorial Guinea. They have not done anything till date. No government official has received us. The former workers of the General Works Company and now President of Equatorial Guinea gave orders that everyone should be paid, but Cameroonians were not paid. We are asking for our bonuses and other benefits to be paid. We worked judiciously, but at the end, we were sent home like workers without social insurance benefits. Over 900 Cameroonians who worked in Equatorial Guinea for General Works Company from 2006 to 2012 for some, and others 2012 to 2015 have not been paid. After the industry was closed, they were abandoned without any benefit till date.
In foreign news, at least 200 people have died in a blast on the Ali Arab hospital in central Gaza, and that is according to local medical sources, while Hamas accuses the Jewish state. The Israeli government attributes responsibility for the shooting to the Islamic jihadist group, which denies any involvement also. And in Ivory Coast, Robert Bougre-Mambeu reappoints most of the ministers after he himself was appointed as the new Prime Minister of Cote d'Ivoire. The roundup of our foreign page with Cedric Chakutiu.
In the Israeli-Palestinian fight, at least 200 people were killed earlier this Tuesday evening in what was, according to Gaza, an Israeli strike on the ground of a hospital in Gaza City. This is the deadliest incident since the start of the Israeli strike campaign on October 7th. Moreover, while Hamas, in denouncing a horrible scene, indicating in a note that most of the victims were displaced families, patients, children and women, the Israeli army on their side denied any responsibility, believing that it was a failed rocket attack by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another Palestinian armed group. Furthermore, from the United States to Iran, via Saudi Arabia and even Russia, this attack has sparked a real international outcry. If everyone agrees to condemn this attack, Washington and the countries of the European Union are refraining for the moment of accusing Israel. Again, referring to the deadly explosion which occurred on Tuesday in a Gaza hospital, President Joe Biden denounced an attack committed by the opposing camp. For now, the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mohammed Abbas, declared it through the morning in the Palestinian territories after this strike. And in Ivory Coast, most of the ministers were reappointed during the appointment of 32-member government earlier this Tuesday, led by new Prime Minister Robert Bougre-Mambeu, who also inherits the sports portfolio 3 months before the start of the African Cup of Nations Ivory Coast 2023. Furthermore, Tinubu Rahima Ouattara, brother of the President Alassane Ouattara, remains in his post as Minister of Defense, Simwit Kobenan Kwasi for Agriculture.
And viewers, such reports on foreign news brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Don't go away, Talking Points comes up next. Welcome back, viewers. Today we will be talking about strike actions in Cameroon. Most times they have been called off recently. We know of the strike action which was announced by the trade union of truck transporters in Cameroon and was later on called off or cancelled after they met with Minister Paul Atanganji. And now we want to find out from you, our guest of tonight. He is of the civil society, Sama Mungwa. Thank you so much for being with us today. We want to find out when strike actions are usually announced in Cameroon. Most times, like I earlier mentioned, they are called off before the strike action actually begins. What can be possible reasons for that?
Unionism, trade unionism is a conviction. And like it obtains in every other field, you always have bad seats. There is a dictum which says, in every 12 one is a Judas. So in every fold of activists, it is very possible, very likely that you will find a Judas Iscariot. You always have blacklegs, you always have traitors, you always have people of no conscience who can auction an entire cause for some promised envelopes or positions. It has never been news. Trade unionism is not new to the phenomenon of blacklegs and moles. You would always have them amongst your ranks. Those that you think are fighting for the same cause with you, but who are instead defending the interest of your oppressors. We have had in the past teachers who are spies for the regime and who work for the regime even as trade unionists. But again, we should not lose sight of the bigger picture, that as much as you have such moles within the ranks of trade unions, trade unionism should not be reduced to money peddling. There is more to it than that. And I think that it is incumbent of the leaders of trade unions to be able to continuously clean their homesteads and identify and eliminate those blacklegs within their ranks. But to say that trade unionism could be reduced to money peddling, no, it is far from that. We have genuine and authentic trade unions and trade unionists who fight for the right cause.
And now, Mr. Sama, you are the civil society, but we know that whenever a strike action, I'm trying to rephrase my question, we all are aware that whenever a strike action is being announced, it is usually cancelled. Hardly takes place like that of nurses, which they usually announce the strike actions, but the strike action never takes place. And now truck transporters, which has been allegedly cancelled too by a faction of the syndicates 2 days after it was announced, they will begin their strike action. Now, are these people really aggrieved, or they are just joking, threatening, or they really have problems which they want to be addressed?
Yes, and it is statutory, it is legally prescribed. Trade unionists or employees, workers who intend to take on a strike action are statutorily obliged to make a notice of their intended action to the administration or to their employer or to whoever is in charge. One thing you should note is that a strike action is an exception, while a smooth and healthy industrial climate is the general rule. And so it is, a strike action is an extreme case of a breakdown of normalcy. And so the legislator expects that a work environment, an institutional work environment, should be smooth and functional. And so the resort to a strike action, which is an exception, is to be avoided as much as possible. And that is why it is required that for trade unions and for employees who have grievances, genuine grievances, before they resort to a strike action, notice of such an intention should be served to their employer. It is not in anybody's interest for there to be a breakdown in functionality within an enterprise, within a work institution. And so the legislator requires or expects that such notice is given so that other peaceful means of resolving, of preempting such a breakdown are resorted to. It gives the employers or the administration enough time to engage in dialogue, in conversation with the other party, so that normalcy could be reinstated.
And now, Mr. Sama, beside being of the civil society, you're also a teacher. And we know that the teacher strike action, the OTAs, has been succeeding somehow because they have been consistent and persistent. They want their plight to be addressed. Now, what do you think is the strength of the teachers demanding for some of their benefits to be paid?
OTS and OTR paradoxically are not trade unions, but they are just movements, spontaneous movements spearheaded and sustained by very frustrated sets of people who are frustrated with the treatment that has been meted on them, the responses that they have had from their employers and their supervisors, people who have been very much frustrated and, should I say, disillusioned with what they have had over a period of so many years, decades. The grievances presented and being sustained by the OTS activists are grievances that date as far back as the 80s and the 90s. And I think that it is their resolve that after having been so patient for so long and without receiving any favorable, any honest, any authentic, any genuine treatment from the other camp, I think they have been pushed to the wall.
And now recently we saw a communique, parents now bringing proposed solutions to the table. Do you think it might be because the plight of the teachers are already above the state to handle?
The grievances of the teachers are not beyond the solution capacity of the state. When you say it is beyond the solution capacity of the state, it's as if the state doesn't have the means. Like the state has the goodwill but does not have the means. No, it is rather the other way around. That the teachers are faced with authorities who have the means but do not have the will. Authorities whose modus operandi functions on the power of intimidation. The losers in this ping-pong game are not only the students, it includes the parents, the students, and the nation Cameroon as a whole. As much as we know that work that we ought to cover shall not be covered in time and on time, but again, I think that it is for everybody's interest that this problem is solved and solved genuinely. We salute the efforts of the parents of OTP, which is unnatural patienté, which means that parents have been patient for too long and observing and hoping that government resolves it. We salute their contributions, but we think it is not against the parents that we have matters. We have matters with the state that has the means and the capacity to resolve, but that does not have the good faith to resolve. And when two forces of such magnitude, one characterized by resilience and resolve based on truth and sincerity, opposed to one characterized by bad faith, when there's a clash of such forces, well, I just urge Cameroonians to wait and see how far it shall go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sama Zama, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Viewers, thank you so much for always being there. But before we part company, this information just getting into our studio, viewers, the Minister for Defense of the Transitional Government of Chad, General Daouda Yahya Ibrahim, has resigned. That was a while ago. This departure comes few hours After that of the Minister Secretary General of the government, Haliki Shua Mahamat, and the Prime Minister of the Transitional Government, Saleh, has received their resignation letters. That was about 30 minutes ago. Sure, we'll be telling you more in our subsequent news editions. Thank you again, viewers, for always being with us. Don't go away. Our programs continue. The news in the French language at 8 p.m., Equinoxe at 7 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.